I hope the sharks don't get her.
He's the first one.
Okay, well, hello and welcome to Sandoway House. Sandoway House was built in 1936 by the architect Samuel Aubrey. He's the same guy who built Old School Square over on Atlantic Avenue. The style of the house is post-colonial resort revival style, which is quite a mouthful, but it was popular among the few wealthy people living here during the Great Depression. So you can imagine, not a lot of examples of this type of architecture are in existence today. In fact, the Sandoway Inn, from which Sandoway House got its name, it's now a parking lot. And in 1996, the house was slated for demolition to also become a parking lot. Thankfully, the community came together and reborn as a nature center. I'm the nature center assistant. My name is Jennifer, and before you is a 50,000-gallon saltwater pool. And as someone mentioned, yes, pool is the operative word. This pool was put in 1963. People swam in it, had barbecues by it. A few short decades later, it's full of sharks and other native species. By native, I mean you can find them right in the water over there. So, let's start by feeding our bony fish. Now, if you look there, see those silver ones that are flat like pancakes? Even those are chubby for what they are. Those are some chubby look down. So I don't mean they're bony as though they're thin. I mean they're bony as in they're full of bones, just like you and I. And you're probably wondering, well, what kind of fish? What type of vertebrae is not full of bones?
No.
The sharks.
No.
If you touch the tip of your nose, the top of your ears, and your cartilage, that's what they have instead of bones. So when one dies, they leave behind a bunch of cartilage and teeth. So let's see, who's the most aggressive fish in the tank? I'll give you a hint. It's going to be one of the bony fish. The sharks aren't really aggressive. Yep, it's my porkfish. You see it's got the yellow fins and the black stripes. He's usually the most aggressive fish we have. He's called the porkfish because he can bellow his gills, grind his teeth, and make a noise just like a pig. Now, the lighter colored fish that have stripes, there's a whole school of them, those are French grunts, and they're related to our porkfish, and they also make piggy noises. And if you look carefully, you may see a yellow and purple fish, and that's our Spanish hogfish. One of my favorite fish in here, it's over in the deep end, is the princess parrotfish. It's pink and it's blue and it's beautiful colors. And it actually eats coral, but that's not bad for the environment. It's actually healthy the way that the fish eats the coral. And then what it cannot eat becomes sand on some of our most beautiful beaches. Now my favorite bony fish are the pufferfish, particularly Mr. Bubbles. He's the smaller one of the two. The bigger one is Mr. Spitz. Sometimes he likes to spit water out at people, believe it or not. Now, let's see if we can get some to poor Bubbles. He's not as aggressive as the other one. Let's all root for Bubbles here. I'll give him a big hand. Now, like all pufferfish, they can blow up to about 3 times their size. That makes it difficult for predators to eat them because they won't fit in their mouth. They blow up by inhaling a bunch of water. And they can do that as many times as they want. But if they inhale air, they do die afterwards. But, that's good for the predator too, because you are looking at the most poisonous vertebrate in the world. That means that the pufferfish is more poisonous than the most poisonous of snakes. But to get that poison, you would have to eat them. Particularly, you'd have to eat the liver. You may have heard of the Japanese delicacy bigu, and that is eating the pufferfish with the liver carefully removed. If the chef makes a mistake, there's no antidote, there's no cure, there's no saving you. Oh my gosh, these sharks look so hungry. I think I should probably feed them. What do you guys think? Yeah. But I like to make them give you a hint as to how they got their name. Everybody else got chicken when we yelled, but this guy's still here. Watch. What about you? Can you do better? Who's going to be the winner? There's a good splash, but there we go. I think you're the winner. You get it. So that popping noise that they're making sounded to someone like a baby nursing. So they're called nurse sharks. They're not the doctors, they're the nurses. Now, the main way they eat is, you see the little things hanging down from their mouth? They kind of look like teeth, but they're soft. They're called barbels. They're kind of like catfish whiskers, and they move them around in the sand looking for something yummy, like maybe a crab. Then they suck in the water, they suck in the sand, they suck in the crab, and I know what you guys are all thinking. How does their tummy feel with a huge amount of salt water and sand in there? Do they just sink to the bottom? Well, I'm just going to show you. I want you to watch them eat again. This time, pay attention to the gill slits on each side. See what happens. You know, I'm going to feed them a squid for this. Right. So if there was sand, if there was a small piece of food, all of that would be filtered right out of the gills. Speaking of gills, these guys have some pretty amazing gills. You know, most sharks have to keep moving to get enough oxygen from the water. These guys can stay still, and that's what they like to do. They love to laze around on the ocean floor, and they're nocturnal. So that means normally right now they're sleeping. They're sleeping all day and up all night. But they know the feeding schedule. About 15 to 30 minutes before feeding time, they start getting more active. They start circling. Because it is a myth that fish do not have memories. In fact, if you tell somebody they have a memory of a goldfish, you're telling them they can retain memories for at least 6 months. There we go. So I want to talk to you about some of the special features these sharks have. Now, there are 400 species of sharks that we know of, and that number is increasing. Now, some of them are so small, like the lantern shark. A full-grown lantern shark would fit in the palm of my hand, and it does glow kind of like a lantern. There's also the whale shark, a 50-foot giant the size of a school bus, and there's everything in between. So there's a lot of diversity. So what I say about one shark may not be true for others, but they have a lot of things in common. Like, we have a lot of things in common. Most people, how many senses do we have? Like smell, sight, 5, exactly. Most people have 5 senses. Now, how many senses do most sharks have? I hear 1, I hear 3, 6. 6 is correct. They have 1 extra sense that we don't have. And I'll give you a hint, it's not their psychic ability. But we're going to talk about it later. Let's start with talking about their eyes. So, some sharks can see in color, and they can see from a long ways away. Some sharks are blind. These sharks are right in the middle. They see in black and white, and they don't see all that well. A lot of people ask me why their eyes look white. It's because they have a special eyelid that's covering it to protect them from the sun. It's called the nictitating membrane, and what's interesting to me about it is, this is a fish, and they have that. Our owl in there, Seymour, he has a nictitating membrane too, and so does our alligator. So we have a bird, a reptile, and a fish, all with the same special feature that helps them survive in their habitat.
And see their
I have
ears,
been looking for a long time. And I could look for a lot longer because they don't have ears. They don't have ears. But running up and down each side of the body is something called the lateral line. It's a fluid-filled tube, and with that tube, they sense vibration. And vibration is sound, so they hear really well. Now, what are they listening for? Well, they're listening for a fish that is swimming badly, or an animal like a seal, who's not swimming normally. He's sick, he's injured, or maybe he has a genetic condition. The shark will come and eat him up. And guess what? That's a beautiful thing, because we don't have doctors fixing the fish in the ocean. We don't have fish veterinarians in there. So what happens when a fish gets an illness? It spreads like a plague. And you know, when we have a fish that has an illness, which hasn't happened in years, thankfully, they go in that tank over there, our quarantine tank. And you're probably thinking it's not big enough for the sharks. We do have an emergency tank for the sharks, but we don't need a quarantine tank for them because they do not get sick. Sharks do not get any of the diseases that fish get. They even rarely get parasites. So when they eat up those fish, they eat up the problem. And they keep everything in balance. They keep our oceans healthy. When dinosaurs were falling dead in the ocean, who do you think cleaned that up? It was sharks. So we've been doing this for a while.
Mommy,
Who here thinks sharks will be doing this important job 100 years from now? Yeah, some people. I think maybe, but to a lesser extent. And in the future, I don't know. Because they are becoming endangered in huge numbers. The hammerhead's endangered, for example. The great white's endangered. In fact, 140 of the 400 known species of sharks are currently endangered. And that is increasing. They don't get the attention whales get because they have a bad reputation. But we are losing them. We are losing them for 3 reasons. So the sense of smell is not what they use most of the time. But sun sharks. Like, if I put blood in here, these guys wouldn't even care. They're not that type of shark. But some sharks will go wild. 1 drop of blood and 10 billion drops of water, and they smell it. And they move in a zigzag until they find their prey. Now, let's talk about their weakest sense briefly. I think their weakest sense has got to be taste, because they'll even eat like place. But what about touch? What would it feel like if you touched a shark? Which is a bad idea in most cases. What would it feel like? Okay.
Sandpaper.
Raw? Who else? Anybody else? Yell. Yell. Yeah. Yell. Yeah, if you rub it backwards, it would hurt a lot. So if you rubbed it against the grain, from the tail to the head, it would feel like sandpaper, it would feel rough, it would feel maybe even like a cheese grater, depending on the size of the shark. That's because not only do these guys have teeth in their mouth, they have teeth on their skin. Now we don't call them teeth because they're not used for chewing, but they're made out of the same material as human teeth, enamel, dentist, cavity pulp, all over their body. And that's called denticles. Some professional swimmers have made suits mimicking the shark skin, but they're banned from all competition wearing those because it gives such an unfair advantage. It cuts through the water. I heard the military is looking into using it on planes because it also cuts air resistant. So they're making synthetic shark skin for all these things. Now their sixth sense is right here. You see right there at the front of the mouth? They have little jelly-filled pores. Those are called the ampullae di Lorenzi. And with that, they sense electricity. That special sense is called electroreception. So if I was in the pool over there, my heart's beating, my heart's a muscle.